Welcome to The Needle, your Division I college basketball podcast. I'm Jack Williams, owner and operator of D1CoachCorner.com, your source for college basketball news, rankings, and predictions. On this podcast, we will present to you weekly conversations on D1 college basketball coaches and their teams. Don't forget to go right now on your computer, phone, or tablet and follow us on Twitter. This episode of The Needle is brought to you by D1CoachCorner.com, your source for Division I college basketball
Thank
coaches.
you for tuning into our 14th episode of The Needle. Again, my name is Jack Williams, owner and operator of D1CoachCorner.com, your source for college basketball news, rankings, and predictions. D1 Coach Corner is the number one source for college basketball preseason predictions and college basketball coach evaluations. The Needle College Basketball Podcast brings to you 52 weeks of college basketball talk on topics dealing with Division I college basketball coaches and their teams. In this episode, we will be talking about college basketball recruiting and what it takes to be recruited. Since I get so many questions about recruiting, we will also bring to you our new Coach Impact segment, which will highlight coaches who have recently taken over a team and has positively impacted the team as a result of him being there. And then we will get into our awards and recognition segment of our show, which highlights Division I players and head coaches who have been recognized and awarded for their accomplishments during this particular week of college basketball. Often when people go to my website or to my podcast, they ask me if I'm a coach or am I associated with a Division I college basketball team in any way. Then the question that follows, how do I get my son recruited by a major Division I college basketball team? First, I respond by saying that I am not a coach, nor am I affiliated with any Division I college basketball team. I'm just a fan of the game who likes to write and talk about it. Since I get the question so often, I decided to dedicate a show to Division I college basketball recruiting. So with that said, these are the questions that I get more often. Now, keep in mind that I cover men's college basketball, so most of my questions are geared mostly toward men's college basketball. Now, one question. How early should I start preparing my son for basketball? The answer to that question is as soon as he's capable of bouncing the ball. Kids like to emulate what they see others do. So if he sees someone else bouncing the ball, often he may pick up one as well. That is, if he's interested. The next question that I get is, at what age should I get my son involved in organized basketball? Well, organized AAU basketball starts as early as 7 years old. But make sure he's ready for that, and make sure that you have him to try out for the right team. There are some AAU programs in your state that has been established for years. Try them first. If that doesn't work, then try your local boys and girls club. Some AAU coaches play in boys and girl club tournaments every once in a while to get their teams more playing hours. Therefore, if your child is a hard worker and loves the game, some AAU coach will pick up on it and will probably recruit him immediately. There are also AAU affiliated coaches who hold workouts for small children who are interested in playing basketball. So, what's the importance of playing AAU basketball? For one, organized basketball on the school level doesn't start until junior high school. AAU gives a child the workout and playing hours needed to improve his game before playing organized school ball. And we'll explain later why organized school ball is still important. AAU also provides exposure for a young recruit. There are a lot of tournaments played around the country where most Division I basketball recruiters are present, so a young recruit can create a buzz among professionals who make the decisions in Division I college basketball. And if your child puts in the work and gets to play on an elite travel team in his state or a surrounding state with other players like him, he may get the opportunity to play in an elite youth basketball league where most elite AAU teams and players are invited. The Pangos Premier Showcase is a well-known event where a lot of top prospects get to display their talents and skill amongst the elite recruiters. And that's how the ranking process began. Now, there are going to be a lot of fake starter AAU teams out there trying to get your money. There are frauds in AAU basketball just like there are frauds in everything else. There are going to be a whole lot of combines, meaning basketball workouts, popping up all around the state, claiming that they can get that prospect the exposure they need. Some of them can, but most of them can't. However, it is always good to get a little bit more playing time and drills, so don't burn your bridges. Now, there are some attributes and skills needed to make it to Division I level of college basketball that can't be taught, such as size, athleticism, and body type. Some guys are just gifted in this area. Skills, exposure, work ethic, grade, size, athleticism, and body type combined are all factors in rating a prospect. Now for high school, why is high school basketball still important? Some people say that high school ball isn't relevant anymore, but that's a long way from being true. For one, high school keeps stats, and two, AAU is designed to get exposure amongst the professionals. Most people in the community aren't going to be at the AAU games. The community is very important when it comes down to creating buzz, because a cell phone video buzz will travel much faster through the community by way of social media. And third, academics count. AAU doesn't give you a school grade, but high school does. Most college basketball coaches get bonuses for having athletes with good grades. Therefore, they don't want to deal with dummies because it may cost them money. To understand a little bit more about Division I basketball, you must realize that this is the next closest thing to going pro. Most players playing in Division I college basketball was, at some point, one of the best players in his state. Most players on the Division I college basketball level were ranked as a 2 to 5 star recruit at one point or another, which includes JUCO transfers. And don't think that JUCO Division I college basketball is any different from playing Division I college basketball. The only difference is qualification. Some 4 and 5 star college recruits play JUCO ball because they aren't eligible grade-wise to play Division I college basketball on a 4-year college level. That's the only difference. I heard one father say that ranking doesn't mean anything. Then he goes on to say that his son can compete with any top-ranking freshman recruit in the country. That may be true, but what is not true is that ranking doesn't mean anything. You must understand that there was a lot of evaluation went into ranking these 3, 4, 5 star players, and most of the time, those rankings are right. Scout.com, Rivals.com, and ESPN are the 3 biggest media ranking systems in the country. An average of the 3 gives scouts an idea of where a potential prospect stands. Now, a 5-star. A 5-star prospect is one that has put in a lot of time and work to develop his skills. A 5-star prospect has what it takes to play amongst the elite prospects. Not only does he have the ability to play amongst the elites, he also has the mindset, athleticism, and body type needed to compete on the pro level. Now, a 5-star doesn't guarantee that a prospect is going to go pro. Even a 5-star must be able to elevate his game to another level in order to play pro ball. A 4-star prospect is also one who has the skills, mindset, and body type to play amongst the elite and has the potential to play on the pro level. The difference between a 5-star and a 4-star player is that the former may be ready to play on a pro level immediately, while the latter may need just a little bit time to elevate his game. A 3-star prospect is one who is ready to play amongst the elite on the Division I college basketball level, but needs a lot of work to make it to the pro level. As a matter of fact, it may be a bad idea for a 3-star prospect to sign with a team in a Major 6 conference as a freshman, because the chance of him riding the bench for at least 2 years is great. However, it's different if the prospect has proven himself on the mid-major level and has made it onto a Major 6 level team via a transfer. Now, a 1 or 2-star prospect is one who may be ready to play amongst the elite in Division I college basketball, but more than likely must play on a lower level Division I team or even a higher level Division II team. He may have what it takes to compete, but lacks something like size, speed, or leaping ability. The chances of going pro is slimmer as the ranking gets lower. Unranked freshman recruits still have a chance to play on the elite college basketball level. All is not lost. However, he more than likely will play on the Division II, III, or NIA level of college basketball. And there is nothing wrong with playing on these levels. The competition is still good because many of these players were still some of the best in their state at some point. Now on to Major 6 program Division I recruiting. When I say Major 6, I mean the ACC, Big 10, Big East, Pac-12, Big 12, and the SEC. Most of the teams who are at the top tier of these conferences are looking to win immediately. These coaches must get their teams to the Sweet 16 or above consistently in order to keep their jobs. I say that because they are normally looking for prospects who could help them win immediately. Recruiters from top tier teams of these conferences are more than likely to recruit 5 or 4-star prospects because most of them have put in the work necessary to play at an elite level. However, they are also likely to recruit 1 to 5-star players who have proven themselves on a mid-major or lower level Division I college basketball team via a transfer or graduate transfer. Top-tier Division I college basketball teams are less likely to recruit JUCO transfers than mid-majors and lower level Division I teams are. Not saying that they don't do it, but they are less likely to. Now, on to mid-major teams. More and more mid-major teams are starting to recruit like top-tier Major 6 teams on the Division I level. Teams such as Gonzaga and Nevada are recruiting 4 to 5-star prospects and are heavily recruiting mid-major transfers and graduate transfers who have proven themselves. But other mid-major teams try to get old and stay old in order to compete. What are the chances for a Division II player to transfer to Division I? It happens, but to be honest with you, it doesn't happen often. You will find more Division I players transferring to Division II programs than Division II players transferring to Division I programs. And that's why the competition on the Division II level is just as high, because a lot of the players were once Division I players who couldn't find their way on the Division I level for some reason or another. And so much for that. Now let's look into some games played in Week 17 of college basketball to see which teams have moved the needle either up or down. On Sunday, March 3rd, 2019, Michigan knocks Maryland out of the race for first place with its road win over Maryland. Creighton helps Villanova in the race for first place in the Big East by defeating Marquette on the road. DePaul keeps St. John's crossing their fingers in hopes of getting into the NCAA tournament by beating them in Chicago. This DePaul team is going to be good next year. Arizona State should secure their spot in the NCAA tournament with a road win against Oregon State. On Monday, March 4th, 2019, Virginia keeps the race for first place tight in the ACC with a road win over a good Syracuse team. Texas Tech and Kansas State keeps the race for first place in the Big 12, a two-way race with their wins on Monday. Texas Tech wins over Texas at home, while Kansas State defeated TCU on the road. One of these teams will be the first to win the conference in 15 years. North Florida, Liberty, Lipscomb, and NJIT all win in the ASUN quarterfinals to advance to the semifinals of the ASUN Conference Tournament. North Florida defeated North Alabama, Liberty defeated Jacksonville, NJIT defeated North Florida, while Lipscomb defeated Kennesaw State. On Tuesday, March 5th, 2019, North Carolina defeated Boston College on the road to keep the race for first place close in the ACC. Duke edges Wake Forest in a tight game to stay in the race with Virginia and North Carolina for first place in the ACC. Kentucky and Tennessee both win games on Tuesday to keep the race for first place tight in the SEC. Kentucky beat Ole Miss on the road, while Tennessee defeated Mississippi State at home. Minnesota helps out Michigan State and Michigan in the race for first place in the Big Ten by defeating Purdue at home. The race is very close between Michigan, Michigan State, and Purdue. Oklahoma knocks Kansas out of the race for first place in the Big 12 for the first time in 15 years with a win over Kansas at home. The race is now a two-way race between Texas Tech and Kansas State. Hampton, Charleston Southern, and Presbyterian all advanced to the quarterfinals on Thursday by winning their first games of the Big South tournament. Hampton defeated Longwood, Charleston Southern defeated South Carolina Upstate, and Presbyterian defeated UNC Asheville. Holy Cross and Boston University win their first game in the Patriot League tournament to advance to the semifinals on Thursday. Both Green Bay and Wright State win their quarterfinal games in the Horizon League tournament to advance to the semifinals on Monday, March 11th. On Wednesday, March 6, 2019, LSU keeps the race for first place live with a home win over Florida. LSU is in a close race for first place in the SEC with Kentucky and Tennessee. Seton Hall hands Marquette its third consecutive loss by defeating them at home. What's going on at Marquette? On Thursday, March 7, 2019, Houston keeps themselves in the front of the pack by defeating SMU at home. UCF helps Houston in the race for first place and their chances of getting to the NCAA tournament by defeating Cincinnati at home. On Friday, March 8, 2019, Maryland ends a two-game losing streak by defeating Minnesota at home. Virginia wins its final game of the season against Louisville to take a share of the crown with North Carolina, who defeated Duke at home on the same day. Tennessee loses their final game of the season to Auburn on the road. The wins allow LSU to take the SEC regular season title. Texas Tech will share the Big 12 regular season title with this win over Iowa State on the road. The title will be shared with Kansas State, who won their final game of the season against Oklahoma. Now that concludes the needle movement portion of our show. We will now move on to the new Coach Impact segment and the awards and recognition portion of our show. This portion of our show is brought to you by D1CoachCorner.com, your source for college basketball news, rankings, and prediction. Once again, don't forget to go follow us on Twitter after the show at D1 Coach Corner. Before we get into our new Coach Impact and Awards and Recognition segment of our show, we will have some coaching changes to announce. After 6 consecutive losing seasons and a last place finish in the Big West, Cal Poly parts ways with Coach Joe Calaroa, the university announced on Wednesday. Coach Calaroa led Cal Poly to his first NCAA tournament appearance in 2014 and to the CIT the year before that. LSU announced on Friday that Coach Will Wade is indefinitely suspended amid reports of FBI wiretapping conversations between Wade and recruiting broker Christian Dawkins about recruiting offers for current Tigers freshman Javonte Smart. Now, according to reports released Friday night by ESPN, Cal State Northridge coach Mark Godfrey has been accused of facilitating cash payments to the trainer of former NC State star and current New York Knicks guard Dennis Smith Jr. when Godfrey coached at NC State. Coach Steve Payne resigns as head coach of Tennessee Tech after finishing in last place of the Ohio Valley Conference. In his 8 years of coaching the team, Coach Payne never led the team to the NCAA tournament. After 6 losing seasons, Stetson fired Coach Corey Williams. Coach Williams was named on our hot seat watch list in episode 13. After 7 seasons of missing the NCAA tournament, Coach Barry Henson has stepped down as head coach of Southern Illinois. Coach Bob Hoffman and Mercer decided to part ways after 11 seasons. Mercer hasn't finished better than 3rd place since joining the Southern Conference in 2014. Now on to our new Coach Impact segment. In this new Coach Impact segment, we will be discussing coaches who have been head coach of a particular Division I college basketball team for no more than 5 years and who are on the upward trend towards taking that team to another level. This week's new Coach Impact highlights Coach Brian Waddle of Bradley. Coach Waddle just recently led Bradley to their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2006 by winning the Missouri Valley Conference tournament title. Looking for greater things from Coach Waddle in the near future. Now on to our awards and recognition segment. Our awards and recognition segment highlights Division I players and head coaches who have been recognized or rewarded for their accomplishments during this particular week of the show. This week's award and recognition segment of our show highlights the Ohio Valley Conference, Missouri Valley Conference, Horizon League, and Patriot League Coaches of the Year awards. The Ohio Valley Conference Coach of the Year belongs to Coach Rick Byrd of Belmont. Belmont won the 2018-2019 Conference Regular Season Championship under Coach Byrd. The Missouri Valley Coach of the Year awards went to Coach Darius DeVries of Drake. Drake shared the Conference Regular Season Championship with Loyola Chicago. The Horizon League Coach of the Year went to Coach Nagy of Wright State. Wright State shared the 2018-2019 Regular Season title with North Kentucky. The 2018-2019 Patriot League Coach of the Year went to Matt Langle of Colgate, who ties Bucknell in the race for first place in the Patriot League. That concludes our show for this week. Join us next week at the same time and channel for a new episode. We'll be happy to take your questions and comments on Twitter for our next episode. Our Twitter handle is at D1 Coach Corner. That is at D1 Coach Corner. See you next week.